Hello and welcome back to Regent University's Israel Institute podcast. I am Dr. AJ Nolte, Director of Regent University's Israel Institute. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. Please remember to rate and subscribe on your favorite podcast provider. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and at our website by searching for Regent University's Israel Institute. And you can also email us directly at israelinstitute@regent.edu. We do appreciate those 5-star ratings if you enjoy what we do on this podcast. Currently, we have 0 stars and 0 ratings, and that makes Dr. Nolte very sad. So if you could change that by giving us 5-star ratings by the end of this week, that would be fantastic, just because we want to start getting this message out there. We know you're listening. We know we have listeners from the United States, Israel, Russia, Canada, India, and Norway and Germany. So from all of those places, thank you so much for listening to this podcast. This is a very special episode in which we will be discussing Israel's not only agricultural sector, but the impact that agricultural sector has around the world, in particular sub-Saharan Africa. We don't necessarily think of Israel as a leader and innovator in the field of foreign aid and development, but they are, particularly when it comes to agribusiness and helping other countries develop more effective agricultural techniques. My guest on today's interview is someone who knows this firsthand. His name is Chifuniro Kandaya. Chifuniro is an agripreneur, that is an agricultural entrepreneur from the nation of Malawi, which is in sub-Saharan Africa. He has also partnered very closely with several Israeli firms that work on agricultural development initiatives. Chifuniro has recently written a book that is both a memoir of his own experiences and a discussion of the Israeli model and how that applies to agriculture. And we will provide more info on Chifuniro and on his book and so on in the description and show notes for this episode. Without further ado, here's my interview with Chifuniro Kandaya. Well, I'm so pleased to welcome to the podcast today Chifuniro Kandaya. Chifuniro is an agribusiness entrepreneur, venture capitalist from the nation of Malawi, who has also done a lot of training with and collaborations with agricultural and agribusiness concerns in Israel. Chifuniro, thank you for doing the interview today.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So if you wouldn't mind, just begin by telling us a little bit about your story and your background and how you came to work on agricultural issues with Israel.
Wow, amazing. No, thank you so much for the opportunity. Well, I should start with telling about myself. I'm from Malawi. I was born the only child. After about 20 years when my parents not have a child. So I'm a miracle child. I'm the Isaac. I live myself that way. But going forward, I was brought up in a farming environment. My parents were small scale farmers, I'd say, and I grew up in a Presbyterian background, hearing stories about Israel, etc. And I admired having learned about what Israelis are doing in the agriculture space, irrigation, water view. I admired just to learn from them. And in 2020, I came across an opportunity. I got an email from the Israeli embassy, Nairobi, about an opportunity to get trained in agribusiness acceleration program using Israeli ecosystem as a model. So I reached out on
So just a quick question. So you said the Israeli embassy in Nairobi, which of course is in Kenya. So does Malawi have diplomatic recognition with Israel?
Yes, it has, but we don't have a resident ambassador in Israel. We have got in Malawi rather. We have got ourselves, Tanzania, Uganda, Mauritius, and Kenya. We are overseen by the office in Kenya. So
In Nairobi. Okay.
That's the background. Yeah, sure.
Very good.
So that's how So I applied for that one, to be specific, because I had at that time I had spent about 7 years in the as a catalyst for the agribusiness space in Malawi, designing curriculums for TVET programs, coaching, training, mentoring young agripreneurs from ideation stage up to helping them to access some sort of funding, those kind of things. So I felt it was necessary for me just to acquire more knowledge. So by the grace of God, I was among 30 people from around the world to be accepted into that program. I was told it was very competitive, and having gone through that program with all a yearning to learn, that's when I think after we graduated, I got another email from the embassy to say the ambassador was visiting our country, Ambassador Yad David, and wanted to meet alumni from different Israeli training programs. So I was among the people who met him, and I think that rolled out a long-term partnership with the Israeli agriculture ecosystem. Thank you.
Very good. So tell me a little bit about this training course. Did you go? You went to Israel, and what kind of training was it? And what do you think was sort of at least based on your sense, what motivated the people that were training you in Israel to train these people from around the world in how to be more effective with agriculture?
Well, thank you so much. So I attended two kind of trainings. The first one in 2020, it was a virtual training. We were supposed to go to Israel, but because of COVID, I think
Yeah.
it affected Israel so much. We did it virtually, and it affected it. The training focused on accelerating agribusiness, and we learned about the spirit of Israel, which talks about market first approach when it comes to production, and that I saw that it was quite different with our approach at that time when it comes to production. Most small scale farmers whom I've worked with, the focus will be, let me produce, I'll see what I can sell. But that training position equipped me with knowledge to say, when it comes to business, understand what the market needs first and produce something that is tailor-made to the needs of the market. So that was one takeaway, I think, lesson. And the other thing was that I learned was the integration between the production and A&D, research and development, how that are interlinked, and how R&D in Israel is assist to bring in innovation, that these two things are not separate. A farmer has to be connected to research and development centers, and it was quite an eye opening. So from there, I think what motivates people from Israel, I feel I just feel it's a fulfillment of Bible prophecy to say that that nation is the light of the world. They are moved by generosity, just the need to bless the world. I think that's what motivates them. Nothing behind that. It's just that generous heart to bless the world, and in that way, they are fulfilling the biblical word that says, Israel shall be the light of the nation. So, yeah, sure. Thank you.
That's fascinating. So, you talk about Israel blessing the world. Tell me practically, first for Chifuniro, and then more broadly for um, sub-Saharan Africa and parts of sub-Saharan Africa where you've worked and people that you've talked with. What has the impact been of Israel's efforts?
Wonderful, wonderful. Let me start with myself. I think after that training, when they learned about my passion for agriculture, I was given a micro grant, about $10,000, so that I can translate the knowledge I got into the community I work with. And indeed, we were able to do that. As I'm speaking right now, apart from us doing farming on our land, we have onboarded about 1,000 small scale farmers. surrounding our farm from 33 villages, whom we have trained on how to do irrigation, cost-effective irrigation, on how to do composting. Fertilizer prices, chemical fertilizer prices are very high, but we're able to use that knowledge and transfer it on the ground. And in addition to that, through that program, I got connected to Volcano International Partnerships, which is an affiliate of Volcano Research Institute in Israel, and through that partnership with Volcano, we started up a series of webinars, and guess what? 800 young Malawians participated in a series of webinars where we learned how Israel does its agriculture. It was quite challenging, and we've got testimonials of how young people were motivated with that and how they are impacting their communities. And following that, we had the CEO of Volcano International Partnerships, Daniela Ablam, coming to Malawi. We hosted her, and we organized with Lilongwe University of Agriculture and Natural Resources the first ever youth agribusiness symposium, where through the Malawi National Youth Council we mobilized representatives of young people from across the country, gathered, and there was knowledge exchange, display of products. It was quite amazing. So that's it. And in terms of communities, wow, I've seen a lot of developmental work that the Israeli community is doing in Malawi. I can talk about water and sanitation. There's an organization called Innovation Africa in the eastern part of Malawi that is into drilling as well as installing clean water in communities that have no access to clean water. And talk about education programs. Right now, some Malawians from Lilongwe University of Agriculture and Natural Resources, every year, Israel hosts young Malawian students who go and learn about agriculture for about 11 months. And there's just now a government-to-government partnership with Israel, whereby young Malawians are given job opportunities to Israel. They are learning. I met some of them in Israel when I visited Israel, and I've been in touch with some of them, and they express gratitude of a lot of knowledge they are getting from there, and they are looking forward to implementing the same when they get back home. So yeah, those are some of the highlights that I can share with you. Thank you.
And that's from what you and I have talked about previously. That's not just limited to Malawi. This is happening in lots of other places across sub-Saharan Africa as well.
Absolutely. I am aware of a number of programs. There is one program called Cultivate. It operates in Ethiopia. It operates in Kenya, where this Israel organization transfer skills, agriculture skills, smart climate agriculture skills to communities, and that has enhanced food security. I can talk about the health center, the health sector, where a lot of Israeli experts, health experts, come to Africa to train, and so it's just a lot, almost in every sector, almost every sector. Sure, thank you.
So how do you respond? Obviously sub-Saharan Africa has an experience of being of colonialism, being colonized. And in so many Western cities and universities, people are saying Israel is colonial. And I was just curious, from your perspective as a sub-Saharan African who's worked a lot with Israelis, how do you respond to this? What's your response when you hear these people saying that Israel is colonial?
I think that narrative is not true. From my experience, from what I've experienced, and from what my community has experienced, I'm coming from a faith background, a Christian background. Lots of people have worked with believers, believers who have worked with Israelis, and I know academias, people from the academia, for example, Lilongwe University of Agriculture and Natural Resources. I think the Israelis that we've worked with have brought in a concept of partnership, capacity building, with a mindset to say, we have done it, we did it in our country, where there are limited resources, Africa, you can do it. I think that's how I can summarize our partnership with the Israelis that I've worked with. And it has not been that of creating a beggar and a donor mentality. No, it's that of a partnership, capacity building, um, um, teaching one how to fish rather than just giving them fish. That's a kind of partnership, unique partnership that Israelis have built. Sure, thank you.
Yeah, and I mean, with so many people and other countries that we don't necessarily have to talk about in this podcast that have come into Africa with a very extractive mindset where they make a lot of promises, but they come in to extract resources. I think, really represents a sharp departure to have the Israelis coming in and trying to do partnership and capacity building. So that's important.
Sure.
Um, so then, you know, oftentimes when people think of Christians that are supportive of Israel, they tend to think of Christians in the global north, places like the United States, Great Britain, etc. But you obviously live in what we now like to refer to as the global south, sub-Saharan Africa, Latin America, Asia, etc. How do Christians in sub-Saharan Africa, in your experience, and that you've met with and you've talked to, how do they think about Israel?
So I want to start telling you a story. So when Daniela Blams visited us, we took her to a rural community where we do farming to meet some of the cooperatives that we meet with. And the traditional chief, who's a Christian, stood up. And this is what I said. It's a joke, right? He said, "Hey, we thought Israel, Jerusalem is in heaven. It's in heaven. We thought that it's in heaven. And receiving an Israeli here, it's such a blessing to us. It's such a blessing to us." So that I'm talking about somebody who is not very educated. I'm talking about somebody who is from rural area. That's their perceptive. They were excited. They were excited to receive somebody from Israel. And number two, I also want to share a story of two Israeli researchers I had a privilege of working with, Dr. Noah and Dr. Abigail Morris from Arava Environmental Institute, which is under Ben Gurion University. When they came, I was quick to connect them with Ngoma University, which is a Christian and Presbyterian university, as well as Zomba Theological University. And guess what? They were very excited. These Christian universities, they are very excited to the extent that at Ngoma University, for one full week, um, um, these two researchers conducted a training of trainers for the lecturers, just to impart skills on research. Whilst at the Zomba Theological University, they conducted a public lecture, and they have established a partnership whereby in their master's class of theology, these two researchers will be helping the university in teaching Hebrew as well as the Jewish history. And another story I can share with you is when the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs from Israel visited Malawi. Apart from meeting the president, meeting government officials, one place she could not miss out. It was in church. She went to Eagles Assemblies of God and a church, and there were prayers there. Leaders from different churches gathered there just to pray for Israel. The last story I can tell you about is I know of several WhatsApp groups, several pastors, leaders who meet on a monthly basis just to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Uh, it's not just in Malawi and our friends in Zambia and other countries. So, having said, I wanted to use stories in responding to your question. So, I would say the stories I've shared with you lay a premise that can make us to conclude or bring an argument, a logical argument, to say that Christians in the global south, they have a different perspective of Israel. They look at Israel as number one, as a blessed nation, that through Israel we're given the Messiah, and they look at it as their responsibility to pray for Israel, to pray for the peace of Jerusalem, because we are commanded to do so in the book of Psalms, and at the same time, looking at the value, the capacity building that Israel brings to this part of the world. We feel in return we can give back the love. We can give back by praying for them and showing them generosity. So that's how I can respond to your question, sir. Thank you.
That's fantastic. So what else do you think my podcast listeners need to know about Israel's work in promoting agricultural innovation in sub-Saharan Africa, or about the relationship between African Christians and Israel? Just any, kind of open-ended. What else do you think people need to know?
Well, thank you so much. Well, I want to share the story of what happened this year. I'll be responding using case studies. This year I was among 24 people from around the world who were selected to participate in a short course that focused on agriculture development using Israeli model. I traveled to Israel. Guess what? I only contributed transport. Everything, everything was a scholarship. I was there for 2 weeks. I was in Israel for 2 weeks. You talk about food, transportation, accommodation. So the aim of the training was to help us to understand the Israeli agriculture development, and also learn how we can contextualize that into our own home countries. And we had friends from Zambia, Kenya, Ethiopia, from Africa, who were part of that. And in terms of what we learned through that program, it was the issue. I think I was able to observe. Number one, the uniqueness of the people of Israel as something we can learn from. How patriotism plays a major role. You talk about earlier, amid the wars, people migrating from other countries, Israelis coming back to their homeland. Even there are challenges. That is against the narrative of people leaving African countries to go elsewhere looking for greener pastures. You can see from there you can judge the perception. So I think one of the lessons I learned in Israel was that the heart of patriotism, but also the birth of innovation. To say necessity is the mother of innovation. How challenges, challenges like in the environment has made the Israelis not to run away from the environment, but to come up with solutions. And that gave birth to some agri-innovations such as drip irrigation, which right now is being used in Southern Africa, in across Africa. As I can give a case study of Malawi, we received rainfall for about just 3-4 months. The rest of the months, 8 months, no rainfall. Yet we need to continue producing. We are using the Israeli knowledge, or especially the innovation of drip irrigation, to enhance irrigation, to enhance production of food, even after the rain, outside the rainy season. So that's just an example. I can talk about regenerative agriculture and how Israelis are able to produce even in a desert, how they're able to make soil to become nutritious. Those are some of the lessons that we are learning. And as I said, there is a partnership between Malawi and the Israeli government, whereby students go and learn, and we are seeing the skill transfer on the ground in terms of regenerative agriculture, issues of how we can improve our soil. So those are some of the practical things that I can share. And the other component that has been a challenge in African agriculture space is the issue of post-harvest management. What happens when we have harvested our food? Israelis have been, for example, I can talk about grain. Israelis have been able to achieve 0% post-harvest loss of grain. And right now as a country, as Malawi and as well as sub-Saharan African countries, we are learning on how we can achieve that, because when it comes to a post-harvest loss, it's a really big challenge in our country. So different platforms that are channeling that. You talk about webinars, exchange programs between schools. So yeah, sure. Those are some of the areas that I can say Israelis have brought a really big change in the food system, in the food space here in sub-Saharan Africa. Thank you.
Very good. Chifuniro, thank you so much for your time and for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.